There are moments in life when you suddenly realize you've come a long way, but you're not sure if the path was ever truly meant for you. You still smile, still fulfill every role, still meet every expectation, but deep inside, a part of you has been silent for far too long. We live in a world that constantly urges you to move faster, do more, give more, to the point where pausing to listen to yourself becomes a rare, even luxurious act. Master psychologist Carl Jung believed that the moment you turn inward and put yourself first is not merely a personal choice, but the beginning of a process of healing and awakening. In that moment, every forgotten piece of you begins to return. Your relationships gradually refine, your energy is preserved, and the meaning of life becomes clearer than ever. In today's video, we will walk through 8 of the most profound transformations that occur when you have the courage to put yourself first. Changes that not only reshape the way you live, but quietly create a magnetic pull that makes others want to live more authentically as well. And perhaps by the end, you will realize that this journey is the path back to the home within you. Number 1. You become aware of your inner voice and your true needs. Sometimes, in the middle of unbearably busy days, you still hear a faint sound somewhere, like someone knocking from inside. It's not loud, not insistent. It just quietly reminds you that it has been far too long since you truly listened to yourself. We are often more accustomed to reacting to the needs of others much faster than to our own. We pick up the phone immediately, reply to messages in haste, nod in agreement before even asking ourselves, "Do I really want this?" And over time, that inner voice becomes faint, like a radio station gone off frequency. But when you truly stop and put yourself first, the first change is not an immediate shift in the outside world, but a silent yet powerful movement inside. You begin to recognize your true voice and distinguish it from the hundreds of imposed voices from the outside. This is the moment you no longer make decisions just to please someone or to be seen as good, but begin to choose based on what you truly need and desire. Once you clearly recognize your inner voice, a series of other changes happen. The fog and disorientation fade. The feeling of living for someone else begins to disappear. You feel lighter saying no to what contradicts your values, and more confident saying yes to what nourishes you. Even your body responds: deeper sleep, a calmer mind, unexplained fatigue gradually disappearing because you no longer have to fight yourself. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But how can you become yourself when most of the time you can't distinguish between you and what has been imposed? Becoming aware of your true needs is the first step to breaking that confusion. I have a friend who worked in finance for over 10 years, considered highly successful by society's standards. Yet, in self-reflection, she realized she had never truly loved her job. The path hadn't begun with passion, but with family expectations. For years, she stayed simply because she had invested too much time and effort, as if stopping would mean wasting it all. yourself, pause and write in the comments, "I hear it." That will be your first step in putting yourself first. Number 2, you stop betraying your feelings to please others. There's a kind of exhaustion many people don't recognize because it doesn't come from hard labor or overwhelming pressure, but from constantly playing the role of the agreeable one. You nod yes, even when there's a wave of resistance inside. You smile and agree to help, even when you're drained. You stay silent when hurt, simply because you fear that speaking up will make someone uncomfortable and leave. When you haven't put yourself first, betraying your own feelings gradually becomes a deeply ingrained habit, to the point you don't even notice you're doing it. You think it's keeping the peace, maintaining the relationship, or the way to be loved. But the truth is, every time you say yes, when your heart says no, you're cutting away a piece of yourself to fit someone else's expectations. When you start putting yourself first, a change happens at the behavioral level. You stop. You no longer nod automatically, but give yourself time to feel and answer honestly. You learn to say no without attaching guilt. You let go of the habit of betraying your feelings in exchange for false harmony. Carl Jung once said, "Nobody, not even yourself, can live healthily for long if they constantly deny the truth that is speaking within them." Daring to be honest with your emotions not only protects your personal energy, but also preserves a foundation of self-respect. A woman once wrote to the channel, sharing that in everyone's eyes, she was the one who never refused anyone. No matter the time of day or night, if someone needed her, she would be there. But over time, that unconditional availability drained her. One day, she decided to change. When invited to join a project she no longer had interest in, instead of nodding as usual, she declined briefly. No excuses, no circling around. Surprisingly, people didn't react negatively as she had feared. In fact, some expressed respect for her directness. From that moment, she realized that being honest with her feelings not only safeguarded her energy, but also opened the door to more genuine connections. When you stop betraying your feelings, you send out a clear message. I respect myself, and I expect to be treated the same way. Those who truly value you won't leave just because you're honest. On the contrary, they'll feel more secure knowing that if you say yes, it's a wholehearted yes. And the deepest shift is the lightness you begin to feel in your body. No more sleepless nights, regretting agreeing to things you didn't want. No more feeling like you're living someone else's life. You begin building relationships based on truth, not performance. This is a decisive step in putting yourself first. You protect your emotions as your most valuable asset. And from there, you no longer need to sacrifice yourself to be loved. From that awareness, the next step is training yourself to choose consciously instead of reacting out of old patterns. This week, pay attention to every time you're about to say yes to someone. Before answering, pause for 5 seconds and ask, do I really want to do this? Does it suit my state today? If the answer is no, try saying a short but respectful refusal. It may feel awkward at first, but the more you practice, the more you'll realize. Saying no doesn't cost you the relationships worth keeping. It only preserves the ones that truly value your real self. Number 3. You discover and integrate the parts of yourself you once rejected. Throughout life, everyone has parts of themselves that have been hidden away, sometimes because they were criticized, sometimes because it didn't feel safe to show them. It might be the strength you were told as a child was stubbornness, the creativity that was labeled impractical, or the intense emotions once dismissed as weakness. Carl Jung called this the shadow, the hidden side of each person. It's not something bad, but the part pushed into the dark because you believed that if you showed it, you would be rejected. The shadow often forms early, when you learn to keep only what others praise and hide away what they disapprove of. If your family valued order, you may have learned to suppress spontaneity. If your environment prized endurance, you might have concealed your ability to stand up for yourself. Over time, you begin to believe those parts truly don't belong to you, or if they do, they're something to be ashamed of. When you put yourself first, a new door opens. You allow yourself to step into that once sealed territory, no longer as afraid as before. You begin to see the shadow not as an enemy, but as an old friend you've forgotten. It's like walking into the attic of your own house, a place you never dared to open because you thought it was full of dust and junk. But as you clear away the dust of time, you find treasures you thought you'd lost. A guitar, a notebook, a painting, each holding memories and strengths you can use again today. You realize that every quality once rejected holds a kind of power, determination that helps you protect boundaries, sensitivity that allows you to deeply courage to step into the light and live more fully. Once you've accepted and integrated the parts you once rejected, you become more whole. And from that wholeness, a natural shift happens. You no longer make decisions from fear or scarcity, but from the solid foundation of your values and intuition. Number 4, you strengthen your decision-making and life direction. Many think good decision-making means being highly logical, weighing pros and cons, and making lists. But in reality, if deep inside you're still driven by fear of displeasing others, fear of being abandoned, or fear of being wrong, then no matter how much you calculate, your final choice is still easily misaligned. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Component placement. Until you recognize what lies deep within you, your choices aren't truly yours. They're the product of habit, fear, or invisible pressure. Before putting yourself first, many of your decisions may have been made to keep the peace or make others happy. You might accept a job you don't love just because a friend recommended it. You might agree to go out with friends when you really want to stay home and rest. You might choose a stable major because your family expects it, even though your heart longs for a different path. And then, after a while, you find yourself lost, unsure whose life you're really living. When you begin to prioritize your own values and intuition, your decision-making changes noticeably. You no longer reflexively say, yes, just to get it over with, or agree to be liked, but allow yourself to pause and listen for what truly matters. For example, someone who used to accept any social invitation for fear of seeming distant might, after realizing that solitude and personal space are essential for their energy, start being selective, attending only when they genuinely want to. As a result, gatherings become more meaningful and they no longer feel drained afterward. A woman once lived for years in a marriage where she hardly ever made her own decisions. From what to buy, where to go, even big matters like buying a car or moving house, everything was decided by her husband or family. She would nod along to keep life easy and avoid conflict, but deep inside, that constant compromise slowly eroded her happiness. When she began learning to listen to herself, she decided to change. During a discussion about moving, instead of staying silent, she suggested choosing a quiet place near a park so their child could play. The initial surprise gave way to an open, more balanced conversation. Months later, the family moved exactly there. And from then on, she felt her voice was respected in shared decisions. When you focus on what truly matters to you, decision-making stops being a stressful battle between should and want. It becomes an act of self-respect. You start to see that saying no to what doesn't fit is also saying yes to something better for your life. And more importantly, each decision now not only solves the immediate situation, but also gradually shapes your long-term direction. A job you choose today can open doors aligned with your true nature. A relationship you end may make space for a deeper connection. A habit you change can lead to a more balanced and joyful lifestyle. At first, this may feel confusing or even scary, especially if you've always been used to pleasing others. But the more you practice, the more you'll feel the power of choices rooted in your values and intuition. They bring a kind of peace no forced agreement can give. So try making this a habit. Before any decision, big or small, ask yourself, does this reflect my true self? Or, if I set fear aside, what would I choose? Stick with these two questions, and you'll notice your path becoming clearer, and you'll no longer be pulled along by choices that were never truly yours. As your decision-making becomes clearer and stronger, you not only change your own course, you also, without realizing it, reshape the circle of people who walk alongside you on that journey. And that's when relationships begin to shift. Number 5. You build relationships that nourish rather than drain. When you put yourself first, one thing happens almost inevitably. Your relationships begin to change. It's not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it happens quietly, like autumn leaves falling, making room for new buds in spring. In the past, when you regularly downplayed your own needs to fit others, some relationships may have unconsciously become sources of energy drain. Maybe it's the friend who always wants you to listen but rarely asks if you're okay. Maybe it's the relative who pressures you to follow their way, and every time you say no, they call you selfish. Or maybe it's the romantic relationship where you constantly have to prove you're worthy of love. When you begin respecting your boundaries and living authentically, you'll see your truly important connections become clearer. Those who love you for your real self will stay, and those relationships often grow deeper and more comfortable. On the other hand, people who only sought you out for benefit to be extreme. You don't have to cut ties or create heavy confrontations. Sometimes, simply adjusting frequency, limiting time, and managing the energy you give is enough to make a big difference. You can still be polite, still be kind, but without allowing yourself to be drained after every interaction. When you allow yourself to keep only relationships that nourish you, you're sending a clear message to the world. I value my energy. That message acts like a natural filter, attracting people on the same wavelength, those who also respect boundaries and know how to give and receive in healthy ways. Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." A healthy relationship doesn't just preserve who you are, it uplifts you, helping both people become better versions of themselves. In that moment, you realize happiness isn't about how many people you have around you, but the quality of each connection. And when you're no longer caught in draining relationships, you have more space to care for yourself. Listen to the natural rhythm of your body and soul, opening the way for the next deep and lasting change. Number 6. You live in harmony with your natural rhythm and manage your energy better. there's something few people notice. Life is not only measured by what we accomplish, but also by how we distribute our energy so we can go far without burning out. When you haven't put yourself first, it's easy to get caught in the whirlpool of always needing to be busy or be dragged along by other people's pace while ignoring the signals from your body and emotions. Living in harmony with your natural rhythm doesn't mean you're always relaxed. It means knowing when to rest and when to move forward. Like a piece of music, there are crescendos and moments of quiet. And it's this alternation that creates beauty. Carl Jung believed that much of our stress comes from living against our own natural flow. He once said, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity." When you continuously force yourself into a pace or mold that doesn't fit, you not only lose your creativity, but gradually lose connection with yourself. I'm reminded of the image of Antigone in Sophocles' Greek tragedy. Antigone didn't live by the tempo that society and power imposed on her. She chose to follow the deep call within her, knowing the path would not be easy. She neither ran ahead nor slowed down reluctantly. She moved exactly when she believed it was right. And that courage to live by her own rhythm is what has kept her story alive for thousands of years. In real life, living in harmony with your rhythm means you begin to listen to your body and emotions before making your schedule. For example, if you feel tired after a week of work, you allow yourself to spend Sunday morning resting, reading, or walking instead of squeezing in another meeting just to fill the calendar. Conversely, when you feel full of energy and inspiration, you take advantage of that period to work on important projects or ideas. A nurse once believed that dedication meant always taking extra shifts, covering for colleagues, and answering the hospital phone even off hours. Her schedule was almost without pause, and one fainting episode during a shift forced her to rethink. She began limiting her weekly shifts, spending 20 minutes each morning drinking tea and breathing deeply before entering the ward, and reserving one free afternoon each week just to rest or read medical literature. Her performance didn't drop. In fact, she cared for patients better, felt lighter, and her colleagues also learned to respect her personal rhythm. If you want to practice this, spend a week observing your energy curve. What time of day are you most alert? When do you lose focus? When do you need rest? Then adjust your work and daily schedule to better match those rhythms. You'll see that even small changes can help maintain creativity and long-term stamina. The important thing is that when you live by your own rhythm, you no longer feel like you're chasing life. Everything begins to have a softer order, waking up with clarity, working with presence, resting without guilt. And when you face periods that demand more energy, you'll have the inner reserves to meet them, because you've already learned how to recharge yourself beforehand. In the long run, this is not just a time management habit, but a way of life. It helps you avoid burnout, avoid the sense of emptiness, even when achieving much. Just as a farmer knows that after a bountiful harvest, the soil needs rest to recover, you too need pauses for your soul and body to regenerate. And it is these pauses that protect you from the erosion of time, so you can travel a long journey with steady feet and a heart still burning bright. Number 7. You find deeper meaning and purpose in life. When you learn to live in harmony with your natural rhythm, you start to realize that if you keep living only to do things right or keep up, then even if you're heading in the right direction, you won't know if the destination is truly for you. It's in this pause that the real even knowing not everyone will understand or agree. I once knew a woman who left her marketing job after more than 12 years to work in education full-time. The day she signed her resignation letter, she knew she was choosing herself, breaking free from the treadmill of others' expectations. High income and back-to-back projects had once made her think she was doing well. But inside she was empty because she had never truly found meaning. A volunteer trip to a remote area, sitting next to a little girl writing her first letters with sparkling eyes, awakened that longing. She began spending weekends on free skills classes, and when the joy grew too big to contain, she switched entirely to the path that lit her heart, where for the first time, she felt she was living the meaning she'd been seeking for so long. When you find your true purpose, your use of time and energy changes completely. Things that once tired you now bring joy because they align with your core values. You no longer measure success by possessions or praise, but by whether each day of your life holds meaning. To explore this, you don't have to give up everything you have. Sometimes, all it takes is a quiet moment to ask, if no one judged me, how would I choose to live? The answer, however small, can be the seed for a new direction. From that moment, the change is no longer just your personal story. The energy you live with, aligned with what you truly cherish, begins to ripple outward, quietly stirring others, even without you trying to make it happen. If you've ever experienced an awakening, when everything suddenly slowed down and you saw the deeper meaning of life, leave A in the comments to inspire those still searching for their purpose. Number 8. You create a positive ripple effect on others and the community. This ripple begins very gently, like a drop of water hitting the surface of a lake, forming circles that spread far. You're not trying to change anyone, but the energy of your authenticity naturally reaches them. Jung once said, "As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being." When you light your own lamp, that light also illuminates the path for those around you. When you live true to your values and share what is good in you, you become a natural source of inspiration for others. You don't need to find ways to attract or persuade anyone. The way you work, the way you treat yourself, and the results you create speak for themselves. This forms a sustainable magnetism, one that doesn't come from display, but from reliability and the natural recognition of the community. Imagine you're a fire in the cold night. You don't have to run around lighting every other lamp. Just by burning bright, others will come to warm themselves and take light from you. Your presence changes the atmosphere, like a dark room suddenly warmed by a single candle. Oprah Winfrey is a clear example. At the peak of her television career, she realized that if she kept trying to please every viewer and partner, she'd burn out and lose her own voice. Oprah began setting boundaries, prioritizing time for meditation, reading, healthcare, and only accepting projects aligned with her values. By putting herself first, she not only maintained personal balance, but also generated a powerful source of energy to give. From that inner wholeness, she built a charity that has helped millions of children access education and inspired millions of women worldwide to reclaim their inner strength. I once heard the story of an ordinary man, a mechanic, who lived quite a private life. After a health scare, he decided to change how he lived, eating healthy, exercising regularly, and writing down 3 things he was grateful for each day. At first, his fellow mechanics teased him, but when they saw him healthier, happier, and more consistent, they began to ask questions and seek his advice. Before long, the whole group was exercising together in the mornings and eating better. He never went online to tell anyone how to live better. He just lived true to himself, and that alone was enough to pull others along. On a larger scale, this ripple can shape an entire community. When a group of people all live authentically, that community becomes safer, with less toxic competition and more genuine support. It's like a garden where every plant is respected and cared for. Each grows in its own way, but all contribute to a healthy ecosystem. And the most beautiful thing is, you'll never fully know who has been touched by the way you live. It could be a colleague who sees you refuse an overloaded schedule and learns to protect their own health. It could be a stranger who reads your story and finds the courage to leave a harmful situation. Every authentic action is a seed, and you don't need to stand there to watch it sprout. You just need to plant it. Because when you put yourself first, you're affirming that your happiness, mental health, and wholeness deserve to be prioritized. This message not only frees you from restrictive molds, but also opens a new way of living for those around you, where everyone has the right and the courage to be themselves. And sometimes, the deepest change you Some women don't need striking beauty, don't need loudness, and don't have to chase anyone. Yet everyone who meets them remembers them. Everyone wants to be near them. It's not because they're lucky, nor because they've memorized seduction secrets. Their magnetism comes from somewhere else, a kind of energy that cannot be bought or faked, one that only emerges when they have walked an inner path few dare to take. Carl Jung believed that most of us live our entire lives like actors, wearing a mask that fits society, hiding our shadows, and following a script written by others. But one day, there comes a moment when you look into the mirror and suddenly realize, I've done everything to be loved, but I no longer know who I am. From that moment, another journey begins, a journey of inner shifts. And when a woman dares to fully walk this path, she doesn't just change how the world sees her. More importantly, she changes how she sees herself. In today's video, we'll explore 5 inner shifts Carl Jung believed can turn a woman into the most radiant, alive version of herself. This is not a list of beauty tips or tricks to be loved. This is a map to a rare kind of magnetism, where you don't need to pursue anyone, yet everyone wants to be near you. Are you ready to step into this journey? Number 1. Accepting and embracing your own shadow. There's something almost no one teaches you growing up, yet it determines the deepest kind of magnetism a woman can have. Allure does not come from a face that is always glowing, from pleasing words, or perfectly curated social media images. It comes from something deeper, from a living depth that only those who dare to face their own shadow possess. From childhood, we are taught to hide parts of ourselves labeled as unacceptable, anger, weakness, fear, and even primal desires branded as ugly. These parts are pushed deep down into the psyche, into what Carl Jung, the great psychologist, called the shadow. And no matter how much you try to forget, the shadow doesn't disappear. It waits quietly, influencing how you love, how you react, even the people you choose to let into your life. The shadow within us is like a deep lake at night. From the surface, all you see is cold, flat blackness. But if you dare to sit by its shore and look longer, you begin to notice the stars reflected, and the water is no longer a dark abyss, but a mirror. Only when a woman dares to sit by that lake, instead of turning away in fear, does she find a light she could not have found anywhere else. Many women live like seasoned actresses in a social play. They smile at the right times, say the things people want to hear, suppress anger and hurt to keep the peace. They've learned to appear positive, even when their hearts are breaking, always presenting a pleasant version so as not to discomfort anyone. Outwardly, everything seems perfect. Inwardly, a fatigue and emptiness slowly grows, because deep down they know no one truly sees them, and even they are losing touch with their real self. Jung once said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." When a woman is brave enough to sit with the ugly, the weak, the longing, and the fearful parts of herself, she becomes the kind of person everyone wants to be near. Not When a woman can say, "I've collapsed, I've made mistakes, I've hurt so deeply I thought I'd never rise again," without needing to play the victim or seek praise, she becomes a mirror for others. A mirror that shows cracks don't diminish our worth. They make us real. If you've ever found yourself stuck in a cycle of relationships or situations that keep hurting you, remember Jung's words. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. But when you face, name and embrace it, you break that cycle. You no longer seek people to fill your emptiness. You don't overreact to a stray comment, and you don't love to be saved. You love because you've already saved yourself. Close your eyes for a moment and ask yourself, is there a part of you you've always acted like doesn't exist? A memory, a fear, a longing you've never dared to name? If so, this is your starting point. Not by banishing it, but by whispering, "I see you. You belong to me too." And if what you just read stirred something in you, a memory, a feeling, or even a brief moment of resonance, leave one word in the comments: shadow. Because the moment you dare to name your shadow, you are already stepping into the journey of becoming the kind of woman everyone wants to be near. Not because she is perfect, but because she is whole. Number 2, from seeking validation to self-validation. After a woman begins to reconcile with her inner shadow, a natural shift occurs. She slowly releases her need for external validation. This isn't a small change, it is a silent rebirth, one that reshapes how she sees herself and how she moves through every connection. Most people, almost by reflex, live as though their worth must be granted. A compliment can lift them to the skies, while a criticism or a single indifferent glance can send them plummeting into despair. Their inner life becomes a tiring tightrope act, with emotions swayed by the world's reactions. And this constant instability means they never truly feel at peace. The woman who has gone through this shift is different. She is like a mountain standing steady against any wind. The wind may howl, carrying praise or scorn, but her roots are deep. She doesn't need anyone to hold her up. She can smile at a compliment, but doesn't let it become the only fuel for her confidence. She can love deeply, but doesn't use love as proof that she is worthy. She doesn't need to be chosen to feel valuable, because she has already chosen herself first. This changes every connection around her. Instead of seeking love, friendship, or work to fill the gaps within, she brings her own wholeness into each and creates bonds no longer burdened by fear or expectation. Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." The greatest privilege in life isn't being applauded, it's daring to live as yourself, even if not everyone likes it. When a woman can stand in her true essence, she not only escapes the exhausting game of praise and criticism, but also becomes a quiet magnet. Not because she flaunts anything, but because she radiates something rare in a world obsessed with approval, a steadiness that asks for nothing. Picture this: a late afternoon in a cafe. Around her, people are busy snapping photos, adjusting their posture to look perfect under the lights, chatting just loudly enough to be overheard by the next table. In a quiet corner, a woman sits reading. No heavy makeup, no constant glances to see who's watching. When an unexpected rain begins outside, she looks up, smiles softly, sets her book down, and watches the rain fall for a while, without rushing to capture the moment for others to see. That simple image draws a few curious glances her way. Not because she is envy-inducing, but because her stillness reminds others they too can slow down and exist without needing to prove anything. In love, this quality is even more striking. The self-validating woman doesn't enter relationships to erase her loneliness or to be chosen. She loves it as an act of freedom, not salvation. She can open her heart, give and receive, while still maintaining healthy boundaries, because for her, love isn't about merging, but about resonance. She doesn't need to read minds, play silent games, or fear that honesty will drive someone away. And paradoxically, because she doesn't cling, her love feels transparent, and that makes the man by her side cherish her even more, because he knows her affection isn't manipulative, but real. This doesn't mean she's immune to emotions or untouched by praise and criticism. She still feels warm when appreciated, still feels a pang when misunderstood. But these emotions no longer define who she is. They pass through, while her core, the belief, "I am enough, even when no one sees," remains firm as her anchor. And it is this belief that lets her release what no longer fits without collapsing, and welcome what's new without fear. If you want to feel this yourself, try a simple exercise tonight. Stand before a mirror. No makeup, no flattering lighting, no one watching. Just you, with yourself. Look into the reflected eyes and valued doesn't need watching eyes to feel enough. This energy flows from what Carl Jung once described as a connection with the deepest self, a state where a person is no longer empty inside, so they no longer radiate neediness, no longer turn others into emotional supply stations. Our modern world pushes us to stay constantly connected. Social media makes us fear missing out. Conversations make us fear silence. Relationships make us believe that if no one reaches for us one day, we are somehow less worthy. But the woman who can be alone without feeling lonely is completely different. When no one is around, she doesn't panic. doesn't rush to fill the void, doesn't scroll endlessly, doesn't dive into meaningless flings, doesn't bury herself in a packed schedule just to avoid the emptiness. Instead, she uses the stillness to return to herself, sometimes by simply sipping tea, reading a few pages, writing a short entry, or just watching her thoughts drift by like clouds. I once knew a young woman who, after a long-term relationship ended, spent countless nights curled up in tears, blasting loud music, or rushing into empty outings just to forget the hollow feeling. But one day, exhausted from running, she tried something simple. Instead of filling her schedule, she learned to sit quietly with herself. At first, just short afternoons, sitting on her balcony, watching the sun set without her phone. Gradually, she began writing down her chaotic thoughts, even her fear of abandonment and desires she once felt ashamed to admit. She realized those feelings didn't destroy her. On the contrary, they slowly made her lighter. The silence she once feared became a space for healing. And once she stopped running from herself, everything changed. When she entered a new relationship, she didn't need constant texting to feel cared for, and didn't cling to someone's presence to prove her worth. She loved it as a choice, not as a means of survival. And this, the freedom, the absence of neediness, made the men she met feel drawn to her in ways they couldn't explain. Around her, they didn't feel pressured to fix her, and because of that, they treasured every moment by her side even more. This is the key difference between truly being alone and the loneliness so many fear. Loneliness is when we feel hollow and scramble to fill it with a person, a habit, or a screen. Being alone is when we feel complete in our own space, not because we don't need anyone, but because we aren't afraid if no one is there. And paradoxically, the moment a woman no longer radiates neediness, she becomes far more attractive. Others feel at ease around her because they aren't crushed by invisible expectations, nor turned into medicine for an empty soul. Jung often emphasized that a person cannot truly mature until they dare to sit with the emptiness inside. Most of our clingy energy in love, friendships, or work comes from that fear. Fear of silence, fear of hearing the echoes within. But the woman who knows how to nurture her inner world is different. She can sit, listen to the uncomfortable memories, the untouched fears and longings, and breathe through them rather than run. She turns those quiet spaces into places of healing. Some find this through meditation, others through creativity, writing, painting, gardening, cooking, not to produce results, but simply to feel alive, to connect with a quiet current inside. And once she learns this, something special happens. When she steps out into the world, every relationship feels lighter. She no longer seeks others to rescue her, so the people around her no longer feel pressured to fill any void. Picture two kinds of love. One constantly needs reassurance, endless texting, anxiety when replies are delayed, leaning on promises as a way to self-soothe. The other is when two people can spend a night apart, each enjoying their own space and activity, and when they reunite, their conversations feel richer, their bond deeper. The woman who nurtures her inner world is the embodiment of the second kind, love that isn't tied to control or anxiety, but to freedom and durability. If you want to touch this state, try this. One evening, turn off all social media. Don't switch on the TV. Don't search for distractions. Sit with a candle, a cup of tea, and just yourself. Write down whatever comes up, messy, unpolished, illogical. At first you might feel restless, as if your whole body is resisting the quiet. But if you observe even that discomfort and keep breathing, the layers of anxiety begin to soften. Beneath it all, a stillness emerges, a stillness no one can give and no one can take away. From that foundation, every connection, including love, transforms. A relationship is no longer a place to escape emptiness, but a space to share. When someone no longer needs another to fill them, love naturally takes on a freer, lighter tone. It's not a binding cage, but more like a green, open garden. Anyone who enters feels they can breathe, knowing they are there by choice, not as a crutch. And paradoxically, the less she tries to hold on, the more others want to stay. Not because of mind games or manipulation. At a seminar that she had everything society praises: a high-paying job, a happy family, a beautiful home. But every night when the lights went out, she felt like she was living inside a velvet-lined box, soft but suffocating. She realized everything she had was simply what's right in the eyes of others, not what she truly longed for. The decision to quit her job to pursue painting hit her family like a shock. Friends mocked her, calling her crazy. She herself felt lost at times, but each canvas she painted, even unsold, even unpraised, gave her a feeling she'd never known: aliveness. She no longer existed to please, but began to live. And once she stopped needing to fit the mold, people were drawn to her even more. Her husband loved her more deeply, not for financial success, but for the free energy she radiated, something most craved but rarely dared to touch. Individuation doesn't always come from grand decisions like changing careers or leaving a relationship. Sometimes it's simply daring to say no to a decayed friendship, daring to admit you don't need to chase a beauty standard, or choosing a rhythm unlike others, reading instead of partying, walking alone instead of texting all day to feel loved. Each time you're honest with yourself, even in small ways, you move closer to who you truly are. Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." A woman who dares to look inward and ask, "What do I truly want?" is not rebelling to make noise. She isn't fighting society to be different, but to be real. And this state, paradoxically, is what makes her magnetic. In a rushing world, she stands like a mirror, reminding others there's another way, not easy, but truly worth walking. Coco Chanel once embodied this truth. Born into poverty, motherless young, raised in a convent, Chanel had nothing but her hands and an unyielding will. In a world where women were forced into stiff corsets, serving as ornaments for men and society's standards, she chose the unwalked road. She broke it all. Chanel stripped silhouettes down, removed suffocating details, and created clothes that were elegant yet freed women's bodies. She once said, "The most courageous act is still to think for yourself," aloud. Chanel didn't just design clothes. She redesigned how women showed up in the world. Of course, she was criticized, labeled a rebel fighting traditional femininity. But instead of proving herself or chasing acceptance, Chanel let her creations speak, and in time, the whole world listened and was drawn to her. When she dared to step off the safe road and chose the journey of becoming herself, the path Jung called individuation, that free energy made Chanel an icon, not just of fashion, but of a woman living true to her soul. In Jungian psychology, she embodies the woman who has transcended the persona, the safe mask, and reconciled with the shadow, her flaws and longings alike. Once no longer ruled by the fear of rejection or others' gaze, she becomes entirely different. She doesn't need to flaunt, doesn't need to prove, yet her presence still draws others in. Imagine a party where everyone is posturing, flaunting achievements, seeking approving eyes, terrified of fading into the background. In that room, a woman enters. Not flashy, not loud. When asked about her work, she doesn't hesitate to admit she's trying something new, even if it's uncertain. In conversation, she listens more than she interrupts. She does nothing to impress, yet her honesty quiets the room, and before long, all eyes gravitate toward her. Not because she's perfect, but because she feels like a breath of fresh air in a stifling room. Individuation is not an easy path. It forces you to face judgment, uncertainty, and the deep fear of being left behind. But because it's hard, it creates a magnetism that can't be faked. The woman who dares to live her true path doesn't need to pull anyone along. But people naturally move closer, not to copy her, but to feel the freedom they've never faced within themselves. And if one day you feel like you're living inside a velvet-lined box, soft but lifeless, ask yourself the question Jung suggests. If there were no fear and no one to judge me, what would I truly want? The answer may be unclear at first, but daring to ask is the first step. Because each time you're honest, even through a small choice, you move closer to your true self, where freedom and vitality don't need to be borrowed from the outside, but flow from within. Number 5. From control to trust and letting go. There is a kind of magnetism almost everyone craves but few attain. The magnetism of a soul that no longer tries to control everything, but knows how to surrender to the flow of life. In a world where everyone wants to script love, work, the future, even their own emotions, the woman who knows how to trust and let go radiates a different energy, light, serene, and paradoxically, that very quality makes her a natural center without even trying. Some women grow up with a habit they don't even notice, always keeping everything under control. Not out of ambition, but her breath steady, her eyes not seeking anyone to talk to or cling to. When group discussions came, she listened far more than she spoke, and when she did speak, her words were simple, yet touched, something many couldn't name. He said being near her made everyone slow down. No one felt the urge to overperform or prove anything. Her energy spread like a still lake, calming everything around it. This doesn't mean she gives up or doesn't care about results. She still loves, still works, still sets goals. But the difference is this: she doesn't let results define her worth. She doesn't believe she must hold on to her lover at all costs to prove she's lovable, nor that she must control every word to avoid conflict. She dares to let things unfold and trusts that what is truly hers will stay, and what leaves is what needs to leave. And this serenity, paradoxically, draws love, respect, and opportunities to her more naturally than ever before. In love, this quality shines even brighter. The woman still living in controlling energy often doesn't realize she turns love into a chess match, predicting every move, reading every signal, trying strategies to keep someone close. But such a relationship is exhausting. In contrast, when a woman knows how to let go, her love becomes an open space, not a place for tests, comparisons, or plans for every moment, but a space where both can breathe freely. The man beside such a woman often feels he doesn't need to perform or fight to sustain the relationship. He can simply be himself. And that is what makes him want to stay. Letting go is also a kind of courage. To release, you must accept you cannot control everything, and that touches the deepest fears: fear of loss, rejection, abandonment. The woman who can do this has already walked through her own darkness, sat with her fear, cried through sleepless nights, and realized she survived. She knows her value doesn't lie in what she can hold, but in how she can stand steady when her hands are empty. When you dare to let things be, things come more easily. It's like walking into a garden with no "do not touch" signs, no fences, no one begging you to stay. You'll naturally want to linger longer, because it is precisely that freedom that makes us appreciate it. The trusting, letting go woman is the same. She doesn't flood phones with messages to confirm affection, doesn't play psychological games to keep people, doesn't turn into a detective over a delayed reply. And because of that, people want to text her, want to come closer, because they feel something rare. Love and connection untainted by fear. If you want to start touching this state, try this. One evening, place your hand on your heart and ask, "What am I trying so hard to control that it's draining me?" Write everything, the relationship, the work outcome, your image in someone's eyes. Then breathe deeply and ask, what would happen if I loosened my grip just a little? At first, it may feel like free-falling. Your heart races, your mind fidgets. But if you keep breathing, you'll realize what the serene woman has long known. Most of what we fear losing, if it truly belongs to us, will find its way to stay. Carl Jung often emphasized that we cannot step into a truly alive life if we're still living in a state of clinging. The woman who knows how to let go doesn't do so because she doesn't care, but because she trusts the wisdom of a flow bigger than herself. She understands that everything, love, work, opportunity, has its own rhythm, and her role isn't to control, but to keep her heart wide and steady enough to receive. And that is what creates her irresistible magnetism. She is like a vast open sky, a quiet river, a place where anyone who enters feels lighter, and no one wants to leave. Because not everyone finds a space where they can feel that free, that safe. Thank you for staying to the very end. As you've heard these 5 inner shifts, you may realize a woman becomes magnetic not because she is perfect, but because she dares to live fully, with both her light and her shadow, her strength and her vulnerability. These shifts don't turn you into someone else. They bring you closer to your true self, someone who doesn't chase validation, doesn't grip the past, and doesn't fear losing someone just to stay whole. When you reach that state, the connections around you change too. They become lighter, clearer, and people are drawn in naturally, not because you try, but because around you, they too feel free to be themselves. So, of these 5 inner shifts, which one do you feel you need most right now? Share your reflection or your story in the comments. Who knows, this might be your first step toward becoming the kind of woman who doesn't need to chase anyone, yet everyone wants to be near.